So when it comes to the day pulls, or the times you check in and take care of yourself through activity and movement, right? So here, 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 and here, give or take, right? They're not like, if we're used to thinking about exercise as something where we work hard, wear ourselves out, and then are done, it's not like that. So we're going to use this percentage to kind of get a better idea. So we're going to call anything that's sort of a 20% effort a 1 on this 0 through 5 scale, right? Up from 20 to 40% is a level 2. From 40 to 60%. So when we cross over the 50% threshold, 50 to 60%, now we're calling that a 3. 3 is sort of where we start to challenge ourselves, right? 4 is the 60 to 80%, and from 80 to 100 is 5. In this system, we rarely, if ever, tap into a 5 intentionally, unless it's really planned, right? So to do things frequently and often, and to be able to recover, and remember, the purpose of the check-in and the day pull is long-term to be able to build your health, but short-term to be able to actually make you feel better for the next cycle. Remember, it reflects self. This is our self to be able to serve. So if we're crushing 5 and trying to go 100%, we're not going to be able to serve. So unless we're someone who's maybe a pro athlete in our off-season or pre-season, where we can go hard at like a 4 or 5 and then have a long period of recovery as part of our job. Right? If you're a professional athlete, part of your job is to recover from hard training. So that's built in. But for most people, otherwise, right, or even athletes who have other things to do, we're going to use mostly a 2 and 3. So 1, 2, 3 as a lot of our check-in times, right? So we can think about the intensity of the Qigong that we're going to go through, the calisthenics, sort of the original strength movements, and even sort of the body weight strength stuff. Most of that stuff can stay in sort of the 2 and 3 range, or around 40 to 60%. Okay, we can do a lot of progression. So if we think of, if we're always only doing things at 1, that's sort of equal to undertraining if we have a baseline. In the beginning, that's good to get there. Once that levels out, if we're doing stuff for just 20% effort, it'll sort of undertrain us, but it's better than nothing. All right, it's better than the 0, but it's sort of undertraining. A 2 is sort of our maintenance, right? So if all of our check-ins are done at sort of a level 2, with just sort of going through it, not too bad, not too sweaty, that's good a lot of times. That's 2. That's our maintenance. And then occasionally with that maintenance, we're going to do 3s. So we might have a 1 in a day, a 2, and a 3. It doesn't have to be in that order, right? And the 3 is when we cross that threshold. We go from 40 to 60%. So we're crossing that 50% threshold, and we're pushing ourselves a little bit, right? In the swimming dragon, that's when you're in a little bit lower stance for a couple extra seconds than you want to be. You're like, how long is this going to last? And then you make it through, and you're like, that's when we have sort of the relaxation response afterwards. So this has a big benefit in that it pushes us a little bit. We develop a category 2 feel, right? It's something that's hard. We might not like it in the moment, or we might, but we know it's good for us. So we push through in a safe, healthy way, just a little bit, and that gives us that category 2 feel, which leads us to feeling category 1, right? Because that's how the pattern goes. When we get it from 60 to 80% category 4, that's usually after we've been training for a while, and we have to allocate it so that we're not going to do something that's a 4 or even a 5, like I said, if we have to do an activity after that. So if I'm not going to crush myself on a 5 in the morning if I have to get my son ready for school and make breakfast and I'm just too tired to be in a good mood and to be positive. If I can't deal with what I need to deal with, then it was too much. So this is how we know, right? And we can almost offset it. Same thing, if we have a really hard work schedule, or something really hard happens during our day trail, and that feels the equivalent of like a 5 during that work cycle or day trail. It's really stressful, we're really involved, and then it's time to go to a day pull. We have to understand that we're not going to go from a 5 and then do a hard 5 training session, right? That we're not going to go 5, 5 back to back. So if we're like a 5 here, we might drop into a 1 or a 2 in the recovery. So think of them as opposites, right? It doesn't have to be perfectly opposite, but a lot of times that's why if we're doing a 2 or 3, we can handle a 2 or 3 in the day trails that follow pretty often. If we bump it up to a 4, we need that day trail that follows it to be a little bit lighter. If it's just around the house stuff or light office work, or we're just relaxing, then we can on those times push up to maybe a 4 because we know the yin yang, the work and the recovery are balanced for that cycle and for that day as a whole. But so we want to start understanding and looking at each of these check-ins not as exhaustive training sessions, but they're day pulls, right? If you're on a trail, right, that's the time you come to the trail, you check back in, you take care of yourself. For us, we take care of our physical body, our hydration, and then that prepares our body for the next cycle, which is nutrition and recovery. And when our physical body is recovering most of the time, our mind can be active, and we're in our work cycles. Most of us don't have 2 physically demanding work cycle jobs. If we do have a physically demanding work cycle, we can use our day pull check-ins as 1s and 2s to be more recovery oriented. So everything is just opposite, right? A lot of people most of the time they might be stressful during their day trails, but they're not as physically as exhausting as it might have been 100 years ago. So we are using the physical check-ins to get our bodies moving in the times in between when our body might be resting more, but our mind is more active. And then the opposite happens, right? So it's just opposite, 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 opposite. And this is how we stay balanced in a rhythm all day. So we might do a 2, if we're just starting out, we might just start with a 1 in the morning. And it might just be the most basic thing. But as we get a little bit better, you might be able to handle a 2 or 3 in the morning. And then maybe a 2 here, and then a 2 here. And then you get home and you can do a 3 or a 4 workout if you don't have much the rest of the day. If you have kids, you might still only do a 2 or 3, but if we do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, we've almost had a full 10 cycle, and we've hit this dispersed throughout the whole day. And in modern world, that's a really great way to live. In the beginning, build our capacity to be able to sustain by doing opposites. To day pull a little bit harder, day trail, day pull, day trail. And as we cycle through this over and over again to build a foundation, we can now handle a little bit harder peaks in rolling allocation, maybe on a Monday, our morning session, then a Tuesday, this session, a Wednesday might be here, Thursday, this might be the hardest, and Friday it might be here. So, and Saturday we usually stay up a little bit later, right? So the idea is we can roll and allocate this. Once we figure out the day and get good at practicing the day, the week will have its own rhythm within the day, and that just layers over top of it. So this is our intensity check-in, right, for our day pulls and our day trails. We can look at all of these sections of the day, right? Between here and here, we can say, how is this training session? I can allocate it. Was a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And then we want to offset those so that the one that follows isn't too intense, right? So if this is a 3, and then my work section after that and getting my family ready is a 4 or a 5, it's probably going to be too much because it's going to be more than a 5, which is equal to 100%. So if I know that this is going to be challenging, I might do a 2 or a 3 here, enough to get prepared, and then recover. And just offset yourself so you're always balanced out. And it comes with a lot of playing and practice. In the beginning, everything's going to sort of start here. We're not really going to push these high numbers at all. We don't need to. We're hitting these 100% through allocation of 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, or 2, 3, 2, 3, just balancing ourselves out until we develop the stamina to be able to practice doing work and recovering, giving back and putting out, taking in and giving back, being able to handle this circular process of our physiology and our biology and our neurology and our psychology. And when we can handle that and do this more and more often, then we can start to push ourselves a little bit. And then that we also though need the recovery ability to be able to handle that. So we don't want to give out more than we can be able to handle and know how to recover from. So in the beginning, we're building frequency and repetition through lower intensity work, but often, right? So lower intensity work done more frequently, often will yield us positive energy, feeling good, feeling alive, and engaged, and yet recovered all day long. And that's the purpose of this intensity chart.